Welcome to the Vital Living Forum. Our show today is on a newly created Aging Matters Connecting with the Media Leadership Training Program. It was designed to help organizations serving Central Florida elders learn how to communicate more effectively with the media. Here in Florida, we have the second highest population of seniors in the country. And with the first of the baby boomers now turning age 65, the number of elders in Florida and Central Florida is skyrocketing. Because of this projected population increase, it's critical that we increase awareness and coverage of aging issues so that our local residents will know what services and what opportunities are available. I'm Bob Ray, and let's get started. Our guests in this first segment are Scott McCollum, who is the former board chair of the Orange County Commission on Aging. Now, Scott, welcome to Vital Living Forum. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and that kind of thing here? Introduce yourself.
Sure. Well, in my day job, I'm a professional public relations practitioner. I work for the Institute of Internal Auditors, which is a global professional association with headquarters here in Central Florida. But one of my passions is looking after our aging population. I was very close with my grandparents, and both of my grandmothers actually suffered with Alzheimer's disease. So early on in my life, I dealt with aging issues. And then up until recently, I also had a mom with dementia. And so I have been in a caregiving role. So in some of my former professional life, I worked for a community agency that serves Alzheimer's caregivers. The Alzheimer Resource Center was on their board and then eventually became a part of their staff. And so as I've transitioned through my career, I've maintained the passion for aging, and that's how I came to be a part of the Orange County Commission on Aging.
That's great. You know, this one of the things we were talking about before the break is what a great passion a lot of our guests have, and certainly the three today do. Our next person sitting next to her is Dory Croissant. Did I get that all right?
That's good.
Croissant. And Dory is also a board member on the Commission on Aging. And if you want to tell us a little bit about your background and maybe your passion when it comes to aging issues.
Well, thank you. I'd sure like to do that. This is my second term on the Commission on Aging, and so it's been really rewarding. And I was able to be on that board because of my affiliation. I work at Florida Hospital. I've been there for about 14 years. And right now, the current department is Government and Public Affairs. And so we are tracking what's going on with healthcare reform. I'm the immediate past chair for the Osceola Council on Aging, so I have a little bit of aging issues that I'm trying to address, and I do have a passion for it. My mom, like Scott, also had Alzheimer's and dealt with that, and I also took care of another woman who needed help because her family wasn't in town, so I just gravitate toward feeling how the issues are for the aging, and it's been rewarding.
Oh, that's great. Well, welcome to the Vital Living
Thank
Forum.
You.
And our final guest next to Dory is Jan Ingrando. Jan is with the company called Seniors First Incorporated. It was part of the planning team that developed this program. Jan, can you give us a little bit of your background and maybe a little bit about your passion when it comes to the elderly?
Sure. I'm the Director of Marketing and Community Relations for Seniors First. And Seniors First is a nonprofit organization that provides services to seniors, anything that will help keep them in their own homes for as long as possible. So we provide Meals on Wheels and in-home care, and we have a medical equipment program and companionship. So anything that can keep our seniors a little bit more independent and give them some more choices and just keep them staying healthy and living in their own homes.
Yeah, that's an important issue because a lot of the seniors, one of the big things that they fear is going into a nursing home, and so improving that quality of life and allowing them to stay there is really good. Yeah. Now, does your organization, is it just for Orange County or is it for the whole state or country? Or?
Well, we are in Orange County, and some of our programs move over into Seminole County a little bit, but we are the Meals on Wheels provider for Orange County, and there's other Meals on Wheels for the other counties in Florida. But our in-home care goes into Seminole, so we're mostly just local here in the two counties.
Okay, well, welcome to the program. We appreciate that. We're going to start off with you, Scott. In your experience, how does the media currently portray aging in the community?
Well, before we set out to do this program, we did quite a bit of research, and what we saw is that the media does cover aging issues and quite extensively, but we looked at the issues they were covering. And number one, we found that some of the major issues that take priority are issues like Medicare and entitlement programs or fraud against seniors. And although the media does cover positive aging issues, we did find that perhaps a lot of it was focused on the frail elder and not a lot on positive aging. And one of the goals of the Orange County Commission on Aging is to create an elder-friendly community and to help people understand that aging is a positive thing or should be a positive thing. So what we want to do is to create more awareness of the positive aging process. So what we found in the media is that there is a gap. We also found that a lot of the coverage comes from national wire services like AP. So there's not a lot of local coverage of local issues about our agencies in the community that serve the seniors. And what we'd like to do is to have the media focus a bit more on what's going on in our own community.
Now, we use this term media quite often, but when we talk about media, are we talking about television, print media, internet, or is there other things that to be considered as well?
We looked at a variety of type of media. We did look at television. We did a content analysis of the Orlando Sentinel and looked at the coverage about aging issues for a 12-month period. And then we also surveyed our local media to see how they feel about their coverage of local aging issues.
Are we getting good cooperation from the media then in that regard?
You know, it's really been amazing setting out into this program, the support we had from the community, from the media, from the communications professionals in the community that were involved, and from the agencies that are involved. Everybody saw a need for this program and stepped up.
Yeah, I definitely think that you're ahead of the game, being very proactive, and so that's kind of exciting. Dory, can you tell us a little bit about what issues we're talking about here that are either current or upcoming?
Well, I think when we were talking about what we needed really to be able to get out into the community was we were finding that transportation was an issue for the elders. We found that access to care. And one of the things we were trying to avoid, because we know that a lot of seniors are isolated. And if they have their car taken away and they can't drive anymore, and if they don't have family around, how do they get those services? How do they connect with someone who can help them get to where they need to go?
Does this help also government officials and agencies identify needs as well?
I think so too. It helps, like, you know, whether we need a bus route somewhere, or do we need sidewalks? You know, do we need communities where there are closer businesses and doctor's offices that are close by? I know that in the Williamsburg area, some of the people who moved in there first, their doctors were over on Highway 50. You know, so when they moved here and they were 50, that wasn't a far way to go. But when they're 70 or 80, they don't want to get on the highway, and so there's nothing close by.
Yeah.
So yes, I do believe that it helps the elected officials get an idea of what the needs are.
And so they can plan ahead and
Correct.
with funding and that kind of thing to kind of meet those needs. And as we know, as we said in the intro, you know, there's a lot of us with silver hair that are starting to get into that age 65 area, and those of us that take care of our parents too are concerned about that. You know, I've talked about my mother being in Vero Beach, and so when you're taking care of an elder that's far away, transportation and those kinds of issues are really important. So what are some of the challenges, Jan, facing organizations when they're trying to meet these needs?
Well, many of our organizations are strapped for funding. So they don't have that one person, that one staff person that's dedicated to the media relations and raising awareness. So that's one thing that they have, not a lot of time. One of the other challenges would be what's newsworthy. And we're pretty much up against politics and crime and, you know, what's happening on I-4. So getting the positive mix on aging is hard to get into the media. If you see anything about aging issues in the media, it's usually about a silver alert or elder abuse or identity theft or something. So we needed to create that positive awareness.
Yeah, and connecting with the elderlies in positive ways to improve the quality of life. It doesn't necessarily sell newspapers per se, or maybe it does sell newspapers, and it's a job to convince the media that this is an area that they should go into.
Exactly. That's what we're aiming for.
We're hoping.
We're hoping. Well, I think you're on the right track. Dory, can you give us a brief summary of the Aging Matters Connecting with the Media program? Just kind of summarize that for us a little bit.
Well, it was interesting in that we decided that we would try and base it around a leadership program, and we would get some people to apply for the program who dealt with aging on a daily basis, no matter how they decided that their company was going to really address the aging issue. And it brought in the group. so they could network together and then hear different venues of how aging matters. And as Scott was saying, you know, we address TV issues, we address maybe radio and print, and the program was really based on how the agencies can focus. And as Jan was saying, a lot of the companies don't have the money anymore to address and have an ideal set person to be their media person. So how do they make it work? How do they make it work for them that's best for them?
Have you, now, money is an issue. That's twice I've heard budget, budget, and of course you guys are right. Did you come up with innovative ideas so that it wouldn't affect the budget, but you can still get that message out? Scott, I'll address that to you.
Well, actually, the cost to put the program on was underwritten by the Winter Park Health Foundation, so we're very grateful for their support for making the program possible. We really tried to make this something that would be very affordable for the participants. So there was only a $50 fee, and some people said they would have paid hundreds and hundreds of dollars to attend a conference or a workshop to get that same information. So we did try to keep it low because we do understand the constrained resources in the community, not only for the nonprofit organizations, but for-profit.
Now, this program was started by the Orange County Office on Aging. Why did they consider this such an important project to initiate?
Well, like I mentioned before, the mission of the Orange County Commission on Aging is to create an elder-friendly community and ensure that there are programs in the community that are accessible to our seniors and they know about them. But beyond that, we work with the agencies in the community that serve seniors to see what they feel are issues that need to be tackled. So every couple of years, we do a needs assessment with them, and we brainstorm what are some things that the Orange County Commission can do to help them. And they identified 3 different issues, and one of them being the media, that we needed to raise the awareness of aging issues and better develop relationships with the media in order to do this. So we set out on a course to do this and came up with a variety of ideas and settled on a program like this that we felt would be reaching out to the community and really arming them with the information that they need to do their jobs to get their message out to the community.
Great. Well, Dory, so we created this program. So why this particular program, and what is the overall goal of the program? I know you want to reach out to the media and get things out there, but is there a far more reaching goal than that?
Well, I think the far-reaching goal is for the people who actually came through the program, in order for them to not only network with the other people, because it was amazing. I think we found each time that we met once a month that some of the people in the room didn't know that maybe this other agency was out there, and instead of duplicating services, how can they work together? So we've already seen some of that already take place, some of the partnerships taking place as far as how they can work together and focus on getting the idea out there, but also to get the media aware of what the aging issues are and to let the media know who the agencies are that are out there, and also to help the agencies get their message across in the way that is most appropriate for them.
Okay.
And I would add on to that to say that what we would really like to see is the community to embrace aging issues. One of our overarching messages that we'd like to be put out in the community is that it's everybody's responsibility to create positive aging. Create positive aging is kind of our mantra, that it's everybody's responsibility. It's my responsibility, your responsibility. It's not only the agencies that specifically serve the senior population, it's our elected officials, it's our business owners, it's everybody in the community that interacts with seniors and who doesn't. So once we're able to get these messages out through the media, we're hoping that people will embrace that idea and really understand what we're facing in Central Florida in terms of the number of seniors that are here, that are moving here, and the aging population that's increasing.
Okay, and Jan, why did you think agencies would be interested in this particular program? Tell us a little bit about that.
In networking with other organizations and other businesses, I knew that they had the same issues as well. So, you know, the newsrooms are getting smaller, and there's less reporters and there's less writers, and we just needed, and there's technology that's involved too. You know, you have bloggers out there and social networking, and we just wanted to get together to learn how to get the press releases out there now. Who do we send them to? What kind of story is going to be interesting that they'll pick up? And I knew that if we all came together, I knew that they would come together and kind of create that united front so that we could get the community engaged.
And we have several organizations, Dory, that have signed up for this. How many organizations did you look at, and how did you select those organizations?
We actually came up, in part of our planning session, we came up with an application that was pretty inclusive, so they could fill it out and actually write why they would like to do this and what their organization did and how they tried to get their message across. And then we as a committee met, and we had about 50 people who applied, and we tried to keep it down to what basically a county leadership size class would be. It was about 30. And we wanted a diverse group. We looked at nonprofits, we looked at for-profits, and really what their organization was doing for the community and how they got their message across, and to see if they would be a viable part. We really wanted a diverse group.
That's great. And this is an ongoing program. It's not just a one-day training session, correct? So I imagine it's a very dynamic program, and it will change over time as the needs.
It builds. It builds. And we talked about maybe doing it as a one-day, and then we decided the more we talked about it, we tried to base it on a leadership program where maybe they would meet once a month, because they could network as they go. They would build. It's kind of like taking any kind of class. You know, you learn something from one class and you bring that information into the next class, and the people were networking in between class sessions, and then they would network when they got there, so they were able to use what they learned one month into the next month. So it was a build-up.
Great. Well, I see this as something great and something that's going to really build on it. And I'm going to surprise you right now saying that our first 18-minute segment is over. So we're going to see Scott after the commercial break, but we're going to say goodbye to you, Dory and Jan. But before you go, do you have any parting comments you would like to make? Well,
for me, I'm just really glad to be here, to be able to have exposure for this program, because it's been a phenomenal success so far, and we're hoping that we can do it again. And I'm just wanting to get the message out there to help the agencies and to help the media connect with the positive aging on, because it starts in our families and it goes forward.
That's great. Jan?
Oh, I just want to say what a wonderful experience it's been for me, and I've a growing experience and a learning experience, and I've already seen increased efforts in our media relations at Seniors First, and I made some wonderful friends and acquaintances along the way, and I know it's just going to continue to grow.
Well, it's wonderful how great passions, particularly toward the elderly, bring people together with great time and great talent, and I want to thank you guys for being here on the program right now. We're going to take a commercial break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Vital Living Forum. Today we're learning about new aging matters, connecting with the Media Leadership Training Program. Scott McCollum, former chair of the Commission on Aging, stayed with us during the commercial break. I want to welcome you back, Scott. And joining him are Annetta Wilson. Now, Annetta is president of Annetta Wilson Media and Training and Success Coaching. So welcome to the program, Annetta. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, and maybe some passion that you have for the elderly.
Well, my passion is communication. I was a news anchor here in the Central Florida market for a number of years and have worked in media for 3+ decades. I started when I was 2. So I've seen a lot of really good stories that didn't make it on the air because people didn't know how to approach the media the right way. And with the growing elderly population in Central Florida, those stories need to be told. So it's important.
It really is. We were talking about that during the break, about the dimensional aspect of it. If you have just a media that covers just the news or whatever and doesn't connect with the community, how they really are losing something. But if it can't be measured financially, that's difficult.
Yeah, in this day and age, that's true. But the good thing is, once you learn how to approach the media, that kind of goes by the wayside.
So your input is vital for this particular program. And I guess some more vital input is the person sitting next to you, Jessica Blakely. Now, Jessie is with the Consensus Communication. She's also a board member of the Orlando chapter of the Public Relations Society of America. Welcome, Jessie. And I guess you also understand the importance of public relations and getting your message across when you're competing with all kinds of people, correct?
Yes, yes. The clutter today and all the different forms of media with messaging.
So tell us a little bit about yourself as well.
Well, like you said, I work with Consensus Communications. We're a statewide public relations firm here in town. I've been with them for about 7 years. Prior to that, I worked in Atlanta for CNN, and just have a passion for communications, like Annetta said, and helping out organizations like the Aging Commission.
Okay, so we'll just begin with you then.
Sure.
As far as the questioning is concerned. So how can the media have an impact on aging? How important is that, and how can they get their message across in changing the public's view of elderly?
Well, the media have an incredible opportunity that they're given in their reach to a mass audience, and they really have a platform to tell their audience what's important in the community, what's important on a national and global scale nowadays. And especially with the aging issue here in Florida, it's a growing issue, and it's something that needs to be told, and they certainly have that platform to tell people what's important.
Okay, you have any additional thoughts on that, Annetta?
Well, I think it's important for those agencies who offer services to the elderly to know how to make that connection with the media. And that's where public relations professionals come in. Their role is invaluable because reporters need new ideas every day for stories. You know, one of my former news directors said there are no dull stories, only dull approaches to interesting stories. So part of my passion is to help people know how to make those interesting approaches so that the media say, yeah, we need to cover that.
And connecting with the community is an important element. You know, we talked about that before on the financial side of it. So you're competing with a lot of stuff, and you're competing with other, I guess, other public relations firms as well. So how do you make your particular client shine over that of somebody else?
Educating them on what news is. Although it might not seem like it when you watch a newscast, there is a definition or several definitions to what constitutes news. And if you know that, you'll know how to craft your pitch to the media so that it fits those definitions.
And then they can carry it forward from there.
Yes.
So the first part is getting your foot in the door and making it newsworthy.
Knowing what to say when you get there.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And that's so true. I see that myself in my experience with the media as well, that you guys, what you do is invaluable. So Scott, taking that into consideration, we have a class structure to this particular program. I think you were talking about community champions and media presenters. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. You know, again, we looked at doing this in one day versus over a period of time, and we decided we really want these participants to be able to soak up this information. So we developed an 8-month program, very similar to a leadership program like Leadership Orlando or Leadership Seminole. We wanted to give the participants an opportunity to network and get to know each other, and also form the opportunity for collaborations with one another when going to the media. So we looked at all of the skills that they said they were lacking in our research, and we developed an 8-month program that went over various topics that would address their needs.
Okay, so what is a community champion?
The community champion was to bring in local leaders to give the participants a sense that the local leaders also find aging issues important. We had some very high-profile individuals, and they came, and one of the very important things about their message is that they told stories. And a lot of these people work with the media, or they're a part of the media, and they brought the story element. Many of them talked about either their stories, how they've worked with the media and their experiences, or even stories about aging issues in their own lives with their parents or a family friend or such.
And so when it comes to this particular program, who are some of your community champions?
You know, we had a wide spectrum, and as I mentioned before, the support from the community was just outstanding. We had a former legislator, we had former editors of the Orlando Sentinel. We even had Dr. G, the county medical examiner, so a little bit of star power to the program. So it was just fantastic to see people like the mayor of Winter Park come out and talk to the group. we really had support from our local leaders, and that was encouraging.
That is very encouraging. Annetta, of all the programs you could pick, why did public relations and the media choose this particular program, to be supportive of this particular program?
Well, I think you have to look at the composition of where we live. And the baby boomer generation is getting older, not leaving work as early as some thought. So you have a population that as time goes on is getting bigger. And the older that group gets, the more their issues come to the forefront. And then you have their children sometimes taking care of them. So younger generations need to be aware of the issues of the aging population too. So it's not just about, am I getting older and what do I need? It's like, how do I help take care of mom and dad, and in some cases, you know, grandma and grandpa. So it's an issue that affects everyone across the board, not only economically, but from the health standpoint, and just how does this area move forward when you've got that demographic growing?
And it's a shift in demographics there, and I imagine with that shift of more people becoming elderly and that the baby boomers, it translates financially as well, you know, some of the challenges. So this is a group that we want to cater to because their buying power is going to affect the entire area, and we need to be meeting that challenge.
Yeah,
correct?
it's an economic issue as well.
So, Jesse, I'm going to ask you, so why is it important for local organizations to better understand the media?
Well, certainly because they want to get their messages out there. And I think one point that Annetta harped on was, you know, it's all about how you interact with them and how you get in touch with them and what's newsworthy. Relationships are an integral part of what we do in public relations, and helping our clients and helping organizations form those relationships so that, you know, in an event of a crisis, they're given the benefit of doubt. And when they have those news stories, they know who to go to and how to pitch it to them.
And do you think, Annetta, that the local media feel that aging and aging issues are important to the area?
I think it depends on the day. Because
yeah, that's a very realistic.
I mean, you know, you have to keep it real.
Yeah, very pragmatic.
News being the animal that it is, it's, you know, what are people talking about right now? What's timely? What impact does it have? And those are those values that I mentioned earlier that determine what news is. Aging can stay at the forefront of all of that if it fits in the definition of what news is. And that's why it's important that those agencies and organizations that provide services to this population know that.
Now, we're talking a lot about TV right now, but are there other media and different challenges like with the print media or internet and that type of thing that you were looking at as well?
Yes, and the things that those professionals who work in those particular mediums look for are different. So it's an education process on the part of the folks who want their stories in print, online, or on the air. It's not one size fits all.
Yeah, and let me throw this out to you and Jesse both. This is kind of a curveball for you a little bit, but do you think that by doing this that you're going to find this as television stations and news organizations have conglomerated and become less community oriented, do you think that this will cause a shift to go back to being more community oriented in the future? As they see the value in dealing with aging issues and see the value in the purchasing power of the elderly and how they reaching out locally may translate to the bottom line?
Well, I certainly think if they see the bottom line effects, it will you know, greatly see the value in what the stories are. But I think if the message is good, if the story is good, if you show the newsworthiness of the topic, I think that there's always opportunity there.
Yeah, because one of the things Annetta was telling us before we started the program is how the community affairs offices and divisions or folks at these the media sites are kind of going by the wayside, and so that generally you're getting away from connecting with the community. And it seems like the pendulum, this is an opportunity for the pendulum to swing back in the other direction again and maybe start connecting again, do you think?
And it's knowing how to pitch those messages in a way, and I keep going back to that, in a way that helps define what news is. So if you can't get in one door, you know, there are lots of doors and windows and other ways to get in there. And the key is to help people know how to get in there. If you can't go in the front door, go in a window.
And I would add on to that, you know, the news organizations that I've talked to about the aging issues is that they believe that aging issues are important. They want to cover them, but they are under new constraints with you know, revenue streams. The newsroom is shrinking, and they want to do the right thing. They want to support the community and tell the stories of the community. So it's really a partnership. It's a dance between the community and the news media. And so we've talked about to these agencies on how they can be a resource best and help the news media, really help them tell their stories.
So it's not convincing them so much as to giving them the way to make this happen, to kind of showing them the way to make it happen rather than convincing them this is newsworthy.
And making the stories interesting and relevant. Sometimes it's not so much about the data as it is about the story.
The person.
The personal story.
Getting back to the Aging Matters program, can you talk about some of the topics that are addressed in that program?
Like I had mentioned, we looked to see where the gaps were, and we developed the 8 weeks based on what are the basic skill sets that a media communicator should have. So we talked about, you know, the changing media landscape. We talked a great deal about social media. Jesse and Roy Reed from Consensus Communication came in and did a fantastic session about how can you understand how the newsroom works and how does social media play a role. We talked about writing for PR. Ryan Sheehy, professor at UCF, gave a fantastic session on how to write for the news media. Annetta came out, did a fantastic workshop on how to pitch your story, how to make your story relevant, understanding what news is. So we walked them through all of the steps from beginning to end to getting their story on the air.
Has it changed a lot since you first presented it, and what kind of changes have been made?
I think the changes that we've seen are the confidence of the participants. They walked in, many of them have never dealt with the media at all, and at the very end we had them do mock pitches to the media. We had representatives from the media actually come out and work with them on how they're doing, their strengths, their weaknesses, and we were just incredibly impressed at the success they made over the 8 months.
Okay, well, Annetta, each of the 8 months that you had one of these topics, the media expert that came in talked about social media and why that's so important. Can you tell us what is social media, first of all, and why is it so important?
Well, by its definition, it's about people being able to interact. Traditional or mainstream media is you being given information by someone else. Social media has changed the landscape. You can create your own internet channel. You can create your own publication, and people can respond back to you. So it's not going away. I think used properly, it can help you get to mainstream media. The danger is when some people see social media as traditional media, because all these folks aren't journalists, and everything you read isn't true. So you have to kind of factor that in as well. But I think it's wonderful because it gives people who wouldn't have a voice, a voice.
A voice. And so, Jesse, so we have traditional media, we have social media. The difference, I guess, what is the difference really? I understand from what Annetta said that social media really maybe comes from individuals, comes through the internet, comes through brochures, flyers, maybe advertising that an individual does. How does that differ from traditional media, and how do you bridge that gap that she was talking about?
Well, just like Annetta said, social media is really about conversation. It's a very transparent way. An organization, a CEO, can have a conversation in real time with a constituent. It's opening the door to communication at a whole new level. It's really a stakeholder economy now. The traditional forms of the way we received information has completely changed. News is 24/7 now. You can go on and see a Twitter update you know, and see what's going on in Iran and Iraq much quicker than you'll ever see on television. And the traditional news outlets are adapting. They now have websites. They now have e-blasts to adapt to that changing landscape, and it changes every day.
Absolutely. Now, Scott, you went through a tour of Channel 6 here locally. How did that add to your knowledge and research in the program and the impact that it made on you and the group and the program?
Well, myself as a public relations practitioner, I differ a little bit from my other guests here, they've worked in the media. So for those of us that did not start on the media side, I kind of look at it as the magic behind the curtain. So we're able to lift that veil and go into the newsroom and actually see what happens on the other side of the curtain beneath the veil. So I think the benefit to the participants were they were able to understand how TV news is immediate. They got to see a live broadcast of news and see the very fast-paced nature of how news is reported in a television environment.
And you did the same thing with the Orlando Sentinel?
Absolutely, and it let them see the stark differences between the two outlets and the in-depth nature of news reporting at a daily paper, very different from the immediacy at a television station, but both had unique value.
Okay, well, our 18 minutes is up in here. It's time for another break, but before we go, Annetta, do you have any final parting comments and contact information for you people who'd like to get a hold of you?
SpeakwithEase.com is the easiest
I love
way.
that.
And just to always be mindful that there is a story that some reporter needs you to tell, and you need to know the steps on how to get to that person. And that's my passion, and that's what I do.
And you're very good at it.
Thank you.
How can we get a hold of you if we need to?
SpeakwithEase.com.
And a telephone
or
number?
407-551-0578.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us on the program. And Jesse, any parting comments and your contact information?
You know, I would just say that reaching out to the public relations individuals in this community, everyone is very engaged and very willing to help, and I think that lifting the veil is not so hard to do, and there's lots of folks in town who would be happy to help your organization. I work with Consensus Communications. Our website is onmessage.com, and our phone number is 407-608-5900. And I would just say, you know, the PRSA group here in town is very active, and we do a lot of pro bono activity as well, and our website is prsaorlando.org.
Great, thank you. And Scott, finally but not least, you.
I would just like to echo Jesse's comments that the public relations community and communications professionals in town are very giving. I was just impressed that every single person we went out to in the community said yes, and so I just want to give a personal thank you to all of you and those not present, Dan Ward, again, Ryan Sheehy, anybody that were involved with the program. I just want to say thank you.
And if people would like to get a hold of you, do you have some contact information you can
Absolutely.
leave behind?
I'm still with the Orange County Commission on Aging, and I work as a practitioner locally at the Institute of Internal Auditors, 407-937-1100.
Okay, great. Well, thank you all for joining us on the Vital Living Forum. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Today we're talking about Media Leadership Program created by the Office on Aging. In this segment, we'll be talking to two graduates of the program and the Winter Park Health Foundation who funded the program in 2011. Joining me are Diana Silvey, Kim Edwards, and Christine Stickney. I want to welcome you. Diana, you're with the Winter Park Health Foundation. Can you give me a little bit of information about yourself and your organization and maybe why you were interested in funding this program?
Okay, absolutely. The Winter Park Health Foundation is a nonprofit, private foundation. We provide funding to programs that help keep older adults healthy and active in their communities, primarily focused on prevention and wellness. Operating in Orange County with a specific emphasis on Winter Park, Maitland, and Eatonville. We have great interest in this program because we have a very broad and bold mission, I would say, which is to create the healthiest community in the U.S. and in this particular case directed at elders, so elder friendly. And we understand that one way that we need to do that is to get the word out there about aging issues and to really make it a community-wide priority. So it was a natural fit for us, obviously, to endorse this program with a little bit of funding we were able to provide.
That's great. Now, personally, do you have a, where's your passion come from a personal standpoint?
You know, right now I have a sister who's a caregiver for my mom. I have an elderly mother who is in a nursing home and has dementia. And it's just really been something very near and dear to our whole family's hearts, but certainly mine. And my dad was just the opposite. He was just like the poster child for aging. So come from a family that just really believes in the reverence of our older citizens.
And that's the thing I find is a common theme on this program. It seems like all the guests that come on have a real good passion for the elderly, and I love to bring that out in you, very much so. And Kim, you're with the Cameron Group, and you're one of the graduates, correct?
I am.
Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I've worked in aging services for about 28 years. I started off right out of college as a licensed nursing home administrator when I was 21. I've always had a passion for working with the elderly. I think it came from being so close to my grandparents and growing up with them. And now I'm happy to be working with the Cameron Group, which is one of the for-profit agencies that participated in this program. We are a geriatric care management company, and we work with elders in the community, serving as their advocates. We help families navigate the medical systems, help them find appropriate care, and help them pay for the care. We've been in business about 11 years, and we're
That's great.
growing.
Well, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Christine, you're with Hospice of the Comforter. We know a little bit about them. You've been on your organization's been on the program before. Can you tell us a little bit about you and a little bit about Hospice of the Comforter?
Well, I've worked for nonprofit organizations most of my career, which I love. Before hospice, I was with the Central Florida Zoological Park, and there I did run their senior program. We had lectures and bus tours and activity programs. So that's where I started really enjoying working with seniors. And so going to work for Hospice of the Comforter was a natural fit for me, also because my mother was a hospice nurse for over 20 years. So I was very ingrained in that. In Hospice of the Comforter, I've come to really appreciate what they do for the community and helping people along their end-of-life journey and providing support and care to the patient and their family. And it's a really good experience for the people who are involved.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you for being on the program, and you're one of the graduates as well, correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay, well, that's good. Well, let's get back to Diana. Your organization, very involved in this thing. Why did this particular program speak to you, or and as opposed to other programs that are out there that you could have funded?
Well, part of the appeal was really finding out that as part of the pre-work, the Orange County Commission on Aging, was able to ascertain that the providers of services for the older adults in our community weren't getting covered maybe as fully as they would like. And so there was a real need to get more attention pointed toward the wonderful services that they provide. And as earlier guests have mentioned, and also in regard to positive aging in particular. So understanding that, it's not just entirely a frail population that's out there that we work with. It's really important to get the message of positive aging out there as well. So given that we're a funder of health and wellness and prevention programs, again, it seemed like just kind of a natural alliance.
A natural fit. And media is so important. I mean, we have a very passionate panel here. We have a very passionate community, people who service the elderly. And as we mentioned before, this population is aging. And to get that message out to the media of the services, I guess, that we have to offer to them, that's an important message. But more important, I guess, is the message of quality of life and getting the whole community to be connected in that way. Would you kind of agree with that, Christine?
Most definitely, and that's what we've realized through this program is that everybody really needs to focus on how our elders are living in the community and how we can better serve them and provide what they need to be able to age in place and remain at home.
And when you took this program and went through the program, did what you anticipate or what you thought you would get from the program is what you got, or did you get something a little different when you got to the end of it?
We got even more. For me personally, and you guys might agree, we really got a behind-the-scenes look at how the different mediums work and how best to work with each individual as far as TV, radio, newspaper, magazines, and social media.
And Kim, what did you learn, I guess, from the print media, TV media, other forms of media? What did you gather from that?
I think just to go on what Christine said, you just learn so much from behind the scenes on how they operate. Knowledge is power. I mean, it helps when you're trying to pitch to know how to pitch to the different forms of media. And, you know, we learn so much about the tight deadlines and budget cuts, and, you know, just make the story as easy as you can for the people that you're trying to pitch to. You know, write the story, provide the pictures, provide the references, provide an interview source, just, you know, even provide the video to the news agencies if you want to get a story told.
So, by learning about that, you're really helping the news media put on the story, making it easy for them to do that. Has it affected you in other areas of your life or in your work with the elderly at all, as far as how you communicate with them? Or
with the media?
Yeah.
We've really taken that whole social media aspect, which was part of the training, to heart with that, and so we've really embarked on a big social media program with revamping our website and, you know, creating a Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. So that's.
So taking that idea of creating stories and stuff, Christine, how has that helped you in what you do?
We learned a great deal about how to pitch our stories, and we were taught basic principles that we needed to use in creating a story and making it interesting to the media and making it a timely manner that they're going to want to cover. So a lot of the people that came in to mentor us taught us how to take a typical local nonprofit has free workshop to really spinning it around and making it to where it's exciting, and the media, if you just give them that one pitch line, they're going to be like, oh, tell me more. So that's what they really helped us to spiffy up what we were already doing.
Yeah. So you're not only just providing the resources for whatever media you're going to, but you're also providing, I guess, the personality aspect of it as well. I mean, do you use people in your stories, and does that help a lot?
Have to use people in the stories. That's what people reading the stories and watching the stories, that's what they want to know about, is local people in the community and how these items are affecting them or can benefit them.
Yeah. Now, Diana, most social media, most stories have an aha moment in them. Can you give us some thoughts about aha moments that you may have seen through the program? Or
you know, there were so many, I have to be honest. The program really exceeded our expectations. It was wonderful month after month to come and be with this group and to see them, as much as taking all the good information in and just soaking up the education from really wonderful professionals that volunteered their time for this. Networking with each other and forging new relationships, understanding that, you know, there are others that have the same fight for the elderly, if you would. And so, you know, kind of the alliances that were built and some of those synergies, that was really one of the real aha moments I perhaps discounted a little bit, didn't count on as greatly as it turned out to be. So in fact, we had one individual I spoke with, she was a staff member at the Orlando Museum of Art. And they have a really great program for folks that have memory loss, and they can come to the museum and in a very dignified and private manner and with their caregiver, you know, experience what you and I would normally experience. And it was, you know, that's just a small branch of their service, right? They're a museum for the general public. So she was just so grateful to have the opportunity to have all of these aging professionals in one room, and month after month being able to make those connections, because, you know, she said to me personally, it would have taken her years to get to that point. Yeah. So I think the aha moment for me really came with the education was great, don't misunderstand me, but boy, just what's come together in terms of forging new partnerships has been incredibly rewarding to watch.
And as you know, that's an important element toward any successful story. You know, an organization is the associations that you connect with and that can help you achieve whatever you need to achieve as an organization. And I imagine that this good deed that you did by funding this organization, the impact of that's going to be great for your organization as well. It's not just helping them, but I imagine by you learning about media connections and how to make those. It helps promote your organization.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I also believe that there is an opportunity for us as a foundation to continue to invest in some of these health and social service providers that, as I said, they're just drinking up this education. And so that says to me there's a need to continue that and how we might be able to support that in some way.
Well, that's really good. Now, Kim, one of the messages, I guess, with the program was about a crisis management. One of the critical points was about crisis management. Can you talk a little bit about what that is and why it is so important?
Sure. Well, all of the agencies that participated in the program work with aging adults, so a vulnerable population. Lots of things can go wrong. They talked about it in an earlier segment with elopements or, silver alerts or elder abuse. So each organization really learned that it's important to have a crisis plan so that you can plan ahead if you are presented with negative publicity, who's going to be the spokesperson. You need to have that ahead of time. We learned a lot about having a message, staying on point, continuing to go back to the point that you want to communicate. No matter what question is being asked, you're not obligated to answer that question, but that you need to communicate the message that you want communicated. And it's important for the organizations. I think a big takeaway was that if there's going to be some negative publicity, not just anyone in the organization can speak on behalf of the organization. There needs to be one person designated to do that.
And you need to have this set up beforehand, because if you're doing it during the crisis,
you don't want to do that on the fly.
Not a good thing.
Right.
Were there any other takeaways, Christine, that you got from the program?
Just how all of us need to be working together. Now that we know what each organization does, we know what resources are available so that we're able to better help the people that we serve. If there's something that we can't do, we now know of other organizations that can help that person.
So connecting with the community, and I don't mean just the community of the Central Florida area, but the community of, let's say, elder caregivers and providers is an important element.
A better support system.
So let me ask you this question. Now that you've learned this and you've made some of those connections, what are you guys doing to ensure that in the future these connections will stay together and that you'll expand on those connections?
Well, we have everyone's contact information, email addresses, and phone numbers. I've been in communication with a lot of the people that I've worked with in the groups. And I think a lot of us are going to stay in touch and use each other as resources.
Same thing?
Yeah, one of the things that I really want to do, that was a big takeaway for me, was that a story that is a shared story with several aging services organizations has a lot better, wider breadth of interest for people than a story about us that's never told. So I'd like to really work on collaborating with some of the other organizations to present some good stories to the media.
Well, I can tell you from our discussions off camera as well as on camera, there's definitely connections been made between the three of you, and I know that those connections will kind of continue. From a funder's perspective, though, how effective, I know the answer to this question, I think, but how effective do you think this program has been?
As I mentioned before, it really has exceeded my expectations, but I will give you one specific example. An organization in town, it's a transportation provider, ITO in Orlando, had a story covered by the Sentinel during this 8-month training period. And I had the opportunity to visit with that executive director not too long ago. They were an organization that participated, as I mentioned, and I just happened to say to her, gee, by the way, did this training have anything to do with what we ultimately read in the paper? And she said, Diana, we had the relationship already. We knew the reporter. But what we learned in this class in terms of being able to frame the story in such a way that it became more appealing was a definite bonus that they got. So that was really very rewarding. And that's just one situation. I'm sure there are others out there that we will continue to monitor their success by applying the education they've learned.
And so that initial investment has really paid back multiple dividends in the community, not just for what we're trying to do for the elderly, but in other areas as well. Now, you had an opportunity, Kim, to pitch. Can you tell us about the pitches that you made and the way you prepared for them?
Okay, that was a really great experience because we had to come together as a group, and then the way we prepared, I'm not sure how the other 4 groups prepared, but we got together initially in a planning session at our office and kind of outlined the skeleton of the topic we wanted to pitch, and we decided on healthy aging, focusing mainly on brain fitness, socialization and exercise. And as we were pitching, we could really tell that it was the brain fitness that seemed to be most interesting to the people that we were pitching to. And then each of the participants in the group had to pitch to a different form of media. So we were able to get really good feedback from each group. We could see how different pitching habits worked better for one form of media than another. We got good feedback on what to do and what not to do, and it was a really good experience.
And Bob, I would just like to add to that, you know, as a person that was just a spectator and kind of walking from group to group and listening to what was being said, it was just really amazing in the sense that walking out with the media people that were present, they really learned from you guys. I mean, it was a reciprocal learning. They said, oh my gosh, I have 2 new stories I can cover now. So it was absolutely finding out about the good work that's being done out there, which was ultimately what we wanted to achieve.
Well, this sounds really exciting, and unfortunately we're out of time again and we have to go. I have so many more questions I would like to ask you, but I assume that your organization and the Office on Aging will be continuing to monitor the success of this program and making changes and bringing more people in the future.
We
correct?
hope to.
Okay,
Yes.
well that's good. Let's take a little time to go through each of you and your contact information and maybe some parting thoughts. I'll start with you.
Okay. As I mentioned, I work for the Winter Park Health Foundation, and you can look us up online, and we would encourage anybody that wants to contact us to do so. I just want to make a parting comment that this was, you know, a wonderful opportunity to invest in these service providers that really are critical in terms of what they do to support people in healthy aging.
That's
so
great.
thank
Well,
you for the opportunity.
Well, I want to thank you for your forethought and the funding of this program. It's a great, great program. Kim, your organization, want to talk a little bit about how we can contact you and your organization and any parting thoughts you might have.
Kim Edwards at the Cameron Group. You can call us at 407-896-2010, or you can like us on Facebook. And
Well done.
And I just want to say thank you to Diana. It was a wonderful program. We were just given so much great exposure to the media to help. And you know, the fact that there's so many wonderful organizations out there providing services to the aging population, we need to get that message out.
Okay, great. And Christine?
Christine Stickney with Hospice of the Comforter, and we are so proud to have served the community since 1990. We can be reached at 407-682-0808 or hospiceofthecomforter.org.
Okay, well, thank you guys for your passion and for the information you'll be able to convey. I'm sure it's going to be very important for our listeners and viewers out there. So thank you for coming to the Vital Living Forum.
Thank
you know, the Vital Living Forum is part of Orange County's Vital Living block on Vision TV. For more information, please visit us at the web at www.orangetvfl.net, or you can contact the Orange County Office on the Aging at 407-836-6563. Thank you.